Shalom. First, giving all acknowledgement to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Double honors. Much respects to my teachers, beginning with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to all the real Akim out there presenting the body as a living sacrifice to make sure this word is preached throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. Want to do this quick video in transit. I came across this article in Forbes. It says research determines protests did not cause spike in coronavirus cases. And I'm just going to read a little bit of this article and get to the point. It says protests against systematic racism held in 300 plus U.S. cities following the death of George Floyd did not cause a significant increase in the coronavirus infections. According to a team of economists who have published their findings in a 60-page paper released by the National Bureau of Economic Research. It says these somewhat surprising results are supported by COVID-19 testing data in many populous cities where demonstrations were held. All right. It says in the immediate aftermath of Floyd's death, health officials expressed great concern that protesters potentially yelling and shouting in very close proximity would quickly spread the virus, which might lead to devastating outbreaks. So, of course, when all these protests started happening after the death of George Floyd, they were saying that, the COVID-19 would, the cases would start going back up, right? But according to this research and according to this article, reading on, it says, however, researchers found no evidence that urban protests reignited COVID-19 case growth during the more than 3 weeks following protest onset. All right. It says, in fact, they determined that based on cell phone data, cities which had protests saw an increase in social distancing behavior for the overall population relative to cities that did not, leading to modest evidence of a small longer run case growth decline. So pretty much saying during the height of these protests, people were in fact practicing social distancing was increased. Right, because people didn't, so a lot of people didn't want to be out and about, right? It says the study's lead author, Dehaval Dave of Bentley University, said, in many cities, the protests actually seemed to lead to a net increase in social distancing as more people who did not protest decided to stay off the streets. The study used newly collected data from 315 of the largest U.S. cities and documents that protests took place in 281 of those cities. The authors pre-released the paper last week, and it has not yet been peer-reviewed. Now here's the point. It says the study's conclusions are supported by COVID-19 testing data in many of the cities that were home to prevalent protesting. For instance, the Minneapolis Department of Health reported that more than 15,000 people were tested at centers set up in communities affected by the protest, and 1.7% of tests came back positive, below the statewide average of about 3.6%. According to the Washington Post, protest attendees in Minneapolis returned positively rates of less than 1% and that officials believe the low infection rates reflect that the protests were outside, that people spent most of their time in motion, circulating through the crowd. So pretty much they're arguing that, with these protests, people were in fact, wearing their mask and social distancing. They were in circular motion, constantly moving, right? Reading on, it says, reported last week that parties, not protests, are believed to have caused coronavirus spikes in Washington. We're finding that the social events and gatherings, these parties where people aren't wearing masks, are our primary source of infection. So pretty much they're arguing the point that, like I said, even with the whole protests that have been going on, the George Floyd protests and marches and everything that's been going on, people were in fact wearing their masks. They were social distancing. They were in circular motion. They were outside, right? But they're saying what actually caused these new spikes in coronavirus cases were people that are not wearing these masks and having these gatherings and parties and things things along that nature, right? So that's pretty much what they're trying to argue. People not practicing the pretty much the guidelines that Easu set up, 6 feet, mask, and all that nonsense. All right. Which the point of this video is to show, the pretty much how, Easu, he's preconditioning the people in accepting this, the whole New World Order beast system, right? Because again, here it is. You got a lot of places that are well, actually, I was just at the store yesterday, and they had a sign that said, pretty much it said no mask, no service, right? Because a lot of these places they will refuse you for not wearing a mask. And I went to the store, I had my mask or whatever, but there was this other cat, looked like an Edomite. He came to the store, he saw the sign, and he started pretty much threw a little fit, But just to show, pretty much, how Easu, he's clamping down on society. He's tightening the screws on this place. They're making laws, more and more strict laws, and things along that nature, right? But again, the whole point of this video is to show how Easu, he's preconditioning, he's preconditioning to society, and pretty much accepting these, these draconian-like laws, right? Going to, how does this tie into, the mark of the beast? Let's get into it a little bit. In Revelations 13, and I'll read verse 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Now that word there, dragon, the word there,
Strong's G 1404,
Dracon, right? Just see what it says here. It's a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan, which basically that when you do the your diligent research, I'm not going to get into the whole breakdown on this video, but that word dragon or dracon was something, it's pretty much like a harsh set of rules, right? Which is pretty much something that they when you read about the Roman society, the Roman captivity, in the Roman times, they had these, these harsh set of they had these harsh set of laws and rules, and That's why I'm going to read verse 11 again. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. So he's, this is basically going into the Republicans and, Democrats, because, to understand these things, you gotta understand that America is it's nothing but a regurgitation of the Roman Empire. All right. Read on down. It says, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. All right, so pretty much everything that you see going on in this society, in this American system, it was pretty much taken. It was pretty much being done in the Roman, ancient Rome. All right, that's why I said in verse 11, when he had 2 horns like a lamb, pretty much Esau, they put on this facade, where they appear to give the people a voice, right? It says it had 2 horns in a lamb, and what is that speaking about? Like I said, the whole Republicans and Democrat political system that it got set up, where again, the people have the voice. So they though they speak peacefully. It says, reading on in verse 11, it says, and he spake as a dragon, and that's where, that's where the draconian, this whole draconian system and these draconian laws come in. All right. And then I'm reading on verse 12 again. It says, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. Now because again, America is just an extension of the Romans, the ancient Romans. All right, and that's why I believe in Daniel's it talks about how this beast, it was different from all the other beasts, because when you look at ancient Rome, they had the Flavians and the Patricians, right? Which is again, it's pretty much the same thing. They had the Caesars and the Senate and things along that nature. Just pretty much everything that America has today, it came from ancient Rome. That's why America, that's why we believe America is nothing but an extension of the the Roman Empire. All right. And it says, and he causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. So America is that deadly wound that was healed. All right. And it pretty much all started when in the establishment of EU and NATO. America, it's a part of all that. All right. So yeah, the part of this whole draconian, these draconian laws, you got to wear these masks and things along that nature, right? Because again, Esau, he's trying to he's preconditioning society and like I said, accepting this whole new world order beast system. All right. Because when you jump down to verse 16, it says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right. It says, and he causeth all. So Esau, he's going to do something that's going to set up, set this whole thing up to where people, to be chipped. All right. And like I said, with this whole thing with, now they're saying that it wasn't actual protest, but it was actual people not wearing masks and practicing social distancing. All this is a prelude to this. It's a prelude. You're getting a small glimpse of what's about to take place, because again, like I mentioned, a lot of places, especially out here in Florida, they will refuse you for not wearing a mask. All right. So and it's almost like you can't function in society if you don't have this mask. Of course, you can still order things online and things along that nature. But again, it's all being set up. All right, it's the point I'm trying to get at. This is all a small prelude to what's about to take place. Because reading on in verse 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Because again, when they start rolling out that chip, and when society collapses and the dollar collapses, and there's a scarcity of food and things along that nature. Once they start rolling out that chip, if you don't have that chip, you won't be able to buy or sell, as it said. You won't be able to conduct business. You won't be able to function in society if you don't have that chip. All right. So, and again, this is all a part of that draconian system, these draconian laws. All right. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to bring this out real quick. I just thought it was, pretty interesting. They were saying, because they were, like I said, they were talking about this before, a little while ago, that, with all these protests, they're gonna, they were fearing that the COVID-19 cases will start, surging again. And sure enough, it did. Now, slowly you had states and certain businesses start opening back up, right? And now, they're saying that, these COVID cases are coming back, and, is a new strand, and it's stronger, and it's more deadlier. And now they're talking about new diseases that are, popping up all over the place, right? But now they're saying that it wasn't actually, it wasn't actual. Actually, it wasn't the protest. It was people not wearing masks and following social distances. All the guidelines. So I just wanted to touch on that point real quick, because like I said, I thought it was pretty interesting. This is, it's all a prelude. It was a test run. Trials, you could say. But now the big kicker is about to, it's about to take place. Because, sure enough, they're really going to clamp down on society, and, it's really going to get bad out here. Things are slowly starting to shut back down, bars and clubs and things of that nature. So this, this is something to be on the lookout for, So, like I said, I just wanted to bring that out, and Yahweh writes this out, you were edified. So, go ahead and end it off there. Once again, giving all acknowledgement to Yahweh Shem Shai, and showing much respects to my teachers, beginning with the apostles and others of Great Millstone. Until next time, I say shalom.